today?
Pretty good. Same old, same old.
Same old, same old.
No complaints.
No complaints. You tell me when we're starting.
Okay, so can you introduce your background?
Absolutely can. I am from the United States. Should I start with my name?
Right, your name first, okay.
Okay. And cut. My name is Nicole. I am from Oregon in the United States. I am 30 years old, and since graduating with a degree in anthropology, I have had the privilege of working in social services for several years, where I was able to help with people getting into housing and doing economic empowerment programs where people could start businesses and buy homes. And I've also had the opportunity to work in public education in the United States, which is what I think I'm most passionate about. And there I worked with high school students who were working to find success in the high school environment, not just academically, but as becoming advocates for themselves and building lives that they're proud of. And currently, I have been traveling outside the United States for about a year. Wow. Which is a long time. And I really, really love education. So currently I am helping folks who want to improve their skills in English. And I do that online and in person. And I also really, really enjoy learning about agriculture. And so while I've been traveling, I've also had the opportunity to live and work on farms. So far in Australia, Japan, and soon in South Korea. And I just feel really lucky and privileged that I'm able to do this with my life and my time right now. And
so how did you think of the fashion or the appearance of Koreans in general?
when I arrived, or anything I thought before coming to Korea?
So when you arrived here?
When I first arrived here.
Yeah.
When I first arrived, I didn't spend very much time in a big city. I came right to the countryside. But from the time that I have seen of Seoul and have seen people visiting, which I assume are from bigger cities, I noticed that fashion does seem very important here. People look really well, and they seem to put together themselves well. I love the coordinated couple outfits. And people seem to have a good understanding of what looks good on their body, and how to walk out of the house. Like, it doesn't seem like you have to, but it seems like it's a skill that people have and they know how to do. I was impressed.
There are rows and rows of billboard-sized advertisement for plastic surgery in the subway station in Seoul. So, have you ever thought about getting plastic surgeries?
I think the thought always crosses your mind what you could change about yourself. Where I come from in the United States, we have lots of other ways to modify our appearance. They aren't surgical, but for example, I have tattoos. That's a modification that I don't get to take back. I don't want to take it back, but it's also, I guess you technically can. It's very expensive and painful. You can pierce your face, you can pierce your ears. For most of my 20s, I had very short, colorful hair that was like rainbow colored. And, you know, I've had different cycles with my weight. And I think a lot of pressure in the US is about size. And so that's something that I've tried to control and had issues with over the years. So I think I've thought a lot about how I could change myself, but never seriously went down the path of like looking at a consultation or even had it like an influence in my community of changing, or had it been like a norm. So like, yeah, of course sometimes I look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, what if that was like this? Or, you know, watching TV or movies and like seeing like a perfect face. Of course it's crossed my mind, but I think the changes I've made to my body have been non-surgical, but I have made them.
Unlike your country, we have to put our picture on our resumes. So we got these plastic surgeries before take ID pictures. So some parents in Korea, they let their children get these surgeries as a graduation gift. So these teenagers can start afresh when they go to a new school. How do you think this culture affects building of their self-esteem?
It's a really good question. I think when I first hear that question, I think my own cultural values kind of come up, and so I have to check those because I think it's a very sensitive topic, because I can't relate to it at all in my like lived experience or like what I've seen friends go through. But I realize the longer that I've been in South Korea how common it is, and I don't think I try not to put the label of good or bad on it because it's not mine to judge. It's not anyone else's to judge, but the people who live it. But to your question about self-esteem, I think I think we all do, being a teenager is such a tender time, and you're trying to figure out who you are, you're trying to decide what you like, and I think being a teenager is when you really realize how I look determines how I will be treated, no matter what culture you're in. Like, that's just a lived reality. Back home, we have this thing that we refer to as the beauty tax, and everybody pays it. So everybody has to pay the beauty tax in some regard. And so I think especially when you're a teenager, you're very aware of that and trying to figure out, like, are you going to be rebellious and like shave your head? Are you going to figure out how to do your makeup really, really well? Are you going to have the right clothes? And so I think it sounds like the cultural context in South Korea is doing surgeries is part of figuring out how you want to survive in a world that will always make you pay the beauty tax. And it seems, like you mentioned, it's something that you have to put on resumes or IDs. And if people are going to judge you so sharply from the beginning, the better you look, the more opportunities you're going to have. And that's just a reality. Like, it's an economic reality. And so when it comes to self-esteem, I wish there was like a magic bullet or a formula. I really do. But I think for teenagers, trying to figure, and for everyone, but especially as a teenager, trying to figure out what is it about your personality and like your creativity that you want people to recognize in yourself is really, really key. I have a really dear friend back at home who has been in education for many years. And she got me thinking about how we talk to kids differently a few years ago, because there's very much a culture in the US, I don't think it's unique to the US, but like when you meet a child, you say, oh, you're so cute. Oh, she's so beautiful. Oh, he's so handsome. And like the second you meet a child, their value comes from what do you look like? And like from such an early age, that's just like a little seed that's planted. And so she had said to me, I'm trying really hard when I meet a new kid. Like, what do you like? Are you a curious kid? Are you brave? Like, and like celebrating those qualities early and continuing to reaffirm those things. So kids, regardless of their gender, get value from who they are, not what they look like. But you have this in this like box of reality of like how you look is how you're going to be treated. And like, I know a lot of us wish it was different, but I think it's going to take a lot of time and a lot of emotional effort to get through that. But I think, for kids' self-esteem, like they need to be celebrated for who they are. And maybe you can still get a double eyelid surgery and be celebrated for being brave and courageous and intelligent. Like, I don't think one has to cancel out the other, but I personally don't know if that balance is here. I don't think it necessarily exists in the US either. I think it's just different.
In a sad way, Korea has kept the worst part of Confucianism, like judgment or shame. Meanwhile, there were some side effects of geographically isolated collectivism. So that can't accommodate diversity of others. In Korea, where focused more on efficiency and speed. This appearance the quickest way to get good result. So as somebody who is satisfied with their own beauty, so could you tell us how to focus more on the inner beauty?
Oh, I can try. I can try. I think there's a lot of parts to your question that are really important to acknowledge. I think the first one is, and I think it takes a long time to unpack this, but what is a successful country? And I think that's always going to be determined like by history and values, and some of that stuff is like important and needs to be preserved, and then some of it, I think, just realistically is going to have to change if society is going to continue. I keep thinking about birth rate in South Korea. Like something has to change, and I think a focus on efficiency and success and material wealth, like it's a huge part of, from what I understand, Korea's history, because this was a country, again, from what I understand, that was told they're not going to come back from what happened. And Korea was like, no, like fighting, like I will come back. And they have, and it's amazing. And it seems like there's been a trade-off of, I would say, maybe enjoying life. That's something that I've had a lot of conversations with people about. I had the chance to do a temple stay at Winsa last week, and our guide there is a man who grew up in South Korea and has kind of departed from the traditional path and has spent most of his 20s traveling and asking questions of religion and philosophy, and has studied many spiritual traditions. And someone even asked him point blank after a retreat, what do you think would help Korea get out of this hole that it's kind of in with some of its issues? And he's like, honestly, Koreans need to enjoy their life.
Wow.
And so I'm piecing that into like what success is, because I don't think any country like completely has this figured out. But when I think about the connection between like success, enjoying life, and like inner beauty and self-acceptance, you have to have space and room in your life to enjoy being in your body and knowing what your body can do for you, and literally have time in your day to do it. Because at the end of the day, our bodies are our home. I think a key thing is just enjoying life, remembering your body is your home, and celebrating all that it can do for you every day. And that's been a huge journey of my life so far, because there's been certain points where I've just like hated the body that I'm in, and like just trashed my house basically, and then had to clean up the house and like celebrate that the house was still standing. And it's still a battle every day, and like the mirror is tough, but I think what helps me a lot is also remembering how I was raised, because I grew up with a grandparent primarily, and she was always telling me, everyone you meet is your mirror.
Oh, really?
Yeah. With someone like with a spiritual bent, but like anything you can see and love and celebrate in someone else is also a trait that's like alive in you or possible in you. And the same goes for like the neutral things, like, oh, that person seems okay, or oh, that person's so annoying, but you probably do that annoying thing or something similar too. So that helps me a lot, because I try not to reject anything in myself or anyone else. But I still do it every day. It's a continual practice.
Wow, it's very impressed. Your grandmommy say that?
Yeah, she's really smart. She was very smart.